You don't need motivation, you need systems. Everybody talks about motivation. They say stay motivated, work harder, wake up inspired. But motivation is one of the most unreliable forces in human behavior. Some days you feel unstoppable, other days you can't even do the simplest task. And that's the problem. If your success depends on how you feel, your progress will always be temporary. Because feelings change, but systems don't. The people who build wealth, get fit, become experts, and completely transform their lives usually aren't more motivated than everyone else. They just build systems that continue working even when motivation disappears. And once you understand this, you stop depending on emotions and start creating results consistently. The motivation trap. Motivation feels powerful in the beginning. That's why people make huge plans at midnight. They promise themselves this time will be different. They buy courses, make schedules, create vision boards, watch productivity videos, and for a few days everything feels amazing. Then reality shows up. You get tired, busy, distracted, stressed, and suddenly the plan disappears. Not because the goal was impossible, but because the system was weak. Most people build goals around emotion. I'll work when I feel motivated. But emotions are unstable. Some mornings you'll feel inspired, some mornings you won't. And if your progress depends on temporary emotional energy, consistency becomes impossible. That's why motivation creates intensity, but systems create longevity. What systems actually are? A system is simple. It's a structure that reduces decision making. Instead of asking, do I feel like doing this today? The system already decided for you. Think about fitness. One person says, I'll go to the gym when I'm motivated. Another person says, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 a.m. The second person removes negotiation. No daily debate, no emotional discussion, no dependence on mood. The action becomes automatic. And this applies to almost everything in life: wealth, health, learning, career growth, relationships. The people who succeed long term usually create routines so consistent that action happens even on bad days. That's the real power of systems. They lower resistance. Why systems beat talent? People massively underestimate consistency because the effects are invisible in the beginning. A person studying 1 hour daily doesn't look extraordinary after 1 week. A person investing monthly doesn't look rich after 1 year. A person writing every day doesn't look successful immediately. But systems compound quietly, and compounding is one of the most powerful forces in life. Tiny repeated actions become massive outcomes over time. That's why discipline often beats talent. Talented people rely on bursts of energy. Disciplined people rely on structure, and structure survives bad moods. A motivated person can outperform everyone for a week. A disciplined person changes their entire future over years. That difference is enormous. Let's take finance as an example. This is the easiest to understand with money. Most people try to save money using motivation. They say, next month I'll spend less. But that requires constant self control, and self control gets exhausted over a point of time. Smart investors do something different. They automate. Salary comes in, money gets invested automatically. No emotional decision required. That's a system. And over 10, 20, 30 years, smaller automatic investments can create life changing wealth, not because of motivation, but because the system continued working consistently. The same principle applies everywhere else. Why people with even good goals fail? Most people don't fail because they are lazy. They fail because their environment works against them. Bad systems create fiction. For example, if your phone is beside your bed, you'll probably scroll in the morning. If junk food is always visible, you'll probably eat it. If learning requires massive efforts to start, you'll avoid it. Human behavior follows convenience. That's why successful people with successful systems reduce friction, want to work out consistently, prepare clothes the night before, want to read more, keeps book visible, want to save money, automate investments, want to waste less time online, remove distractions completely. Good systems make positive behavior easier. Bad systems make failure easier. Now, what's the real secret? Here's what most people misunderstand. Discipline is not about being intense all the time. It's about making important actions repeatable. That's it. The goal is not to feel motivated forever. The goal is to build a life where progress happens automatically because eventually systems shape identity. A person who writes daily becomes a writer. A person who trains consistently becomes fit. A person who invests monthly becomes wealthy. Not through one giant moment, but through thousands of repeated actions. That's how transformation actually happens, quietly, repeatedly, almost invisibly at first. How to build your first system? If you want to build a system, start simple. Most people fail because they try to change everything at once. Instant. Instead, pick one important area of life, then ask, what's the smallest action I can repeat consistently? Not perfectly, consistently. Then remove friction. Make the action easy to start. Schedule it, automate it, track it, simplify it. And most importantly, stop expecting immediate results. Systems feel boring in the beginning because compounding is slow early on. But over time, small repeated actions become impossible to ignore. Motivation is temporary, systems survive. That's the difference. One depends on emotion, the other depends on structure, and structure changes lives, not overnight but permanently. So stop asking, how do I stay motivated? Start asking, what system would make success inevitable? Because the people who win long term usually aren't the most inspired, they are the most consistent. And consistency is almost always built through systems, not feelings.